VCISO.au Cyberwatch, July 23, 2025. Strategic Cybersecurity Intelligence Brief, powered by VCISO.au. Stay informed, stay prepared, stay secure. Ensure your cybersecurity program is both proactive and verifiable. By Anil Yellamati, ANZ Ransomware. Victims: None Microsoft SharePoint, CVE 2025-53770, flaw added to CISA's KV catalog. CISA has listed CVE 2025-53770, tool shell, in its known exploited vulnerabilities catalog due to active exploitation. The zero-day flaw affects on-premises Microsoft SharePoint servers, allowing remote, unauthenticated code execution. Microsoft released emergency patches for CVE 2025-53770 and CVE 2025-53771, exploited since July 18th. The flaws stem from deserialization vulnerabilities that let attackers execute arbitrary code over the network. They don't impact SharePoint Online, only on-premises deployments from 2016, 2019, and Subscription Edition. Microsoft urges enabling AMSI and deploying Microsoft Defender for real-time protection. A full patch is in development, but mitigations must be applied immediately per advisory. The flaw, tied to Vietnamese researchers P. Buen Thu's own discovery, has a CVSS score of 9.8. A proof-of-concept (POC) exploit was released publicly, increasing the threat level. Tool shell exploits were used in widespread attacks by state-sponsored actors. Federal agencies are required to patch the flaw without delay. VCISO.au recommendation: organizations using on-prem SharePoint must disable remote access until patched. Enforce AMSI integration, implement EDR/XDR solutions, and log access to detect unauthorized activity. Critical Sophos firewall vulnerabilities allow pre-auth RCE. 3 critical flaws in Sophos firewall expose systems to pre-auth remote code execution and command injection. CVE 2025-6704 allows arbitrary file writes via SPX in HA mode, affecting a small but high-risk user base. CVE 2025-7624 enables SQL injection via the legacy SMTP proxy, targeting outdated system upgrades. CVE 2025-7382 allows adjacent attackers to execute commands if OTP is enabled in HA mode. While each flaw affects a small portion of the firewall user base, their impact is severe. Sophos credited researchers via its bug bounty program and has issued immediate patches. Legacy modules and configuration dependencies contributed to the vulnerabilities. These flaws show how outdated or misconfigured features can undermine overall security posture. Affected systems often involve email quarantine or HA setups, both common in enterprise use. Administrators are urged to update immediately and disable unnecessary legacy components. Failure to patch leaves businesses exposed to complete system compromise. VCISO.au. Recommendation: VCISO.au urges clients to update to the latest firmware, audit HA configurations, and disable unused modules. Regularly review firewall policies and activate anomaly detection on admin interfaces. Cisco Identity Services Engine, ISE, under active exploit. Cisco disclosed 3 critical RCE flaws in its ISE platform with CVSS scores of 10.0. These vulnerabilities are being actively exploited by attackers to gain root access remotely. Tracked as CVE 2025-2281, 2022-82, and 2337, the flaws affect ISE versions 3.3 and 3.4. 2 vulnerabilities stem from improper API input validation, allowing unauthenticated attacks. The third flaw impacts ISE 3.4's internal API, lacking adequate file checks. Cisco PSIRT confirmed the presence of real-world exploitation in July 2025. ISE PIC deployments are also vulnerable, particularly in complex environments. Security teams must apply available patches without delay. Exploitation allows full system compromise with elevated privileges. These vulnerabilities could be used to pivot deeper into networks. Cisco urges immediate response as attackers increasingly target identity platforms. VCISO.au Recommendation: VCISO.au recommends disabling unused APIs, applying Cisco patches urgently, and deploying segmentation controls to limit lateral movement if identity systems are breached. Microsoft SharePoint exploits. Linked to Chinese state actors. Microsoft and security partners have tied SharePoint zero-day attacks to multiple China-based hacking groups. Attackers use the tool shell chain to exploit CVE 2025-49704, 49706, and later CVE 2025-53770, 53771. At least 54 organizations, including governments and telecom firms, were compromised. Groups such as Linen Typhoon, Violet Typhoon, and Storm 2603 were identified in the campaigns. Attacks began as early as July 7th, targeting Western governments and enterprises. Checkpoint and iSecurity detected the exploits across North America and Europe. One exploit IP was tied to prior Ivanti EPMM attacks, indicating reused infrastructure. Microsoft released emergency SharePoint patches shortly after confirming the exploit. A POC exploit was published on GitHub, increasing risk of widespread compromise. CISA issued mandatory patch directives for U.S. federal networks. The attacks demonstrate the urgency of securing exposed on-prem SharePoint servers. VCISO.au recommendation. VCISO.au advises threat hunting for lateral movement, IOC sweeps for known IPs, and applying threat intel feeds to detect ongoing tool shell-related activity. Segment high-risk infrastructure immediately. UK government bans public sector ransomware payments. The UK has officially banned public sector bodies from paying ransomware demands. The move is part of its broader cyber strategy to disrupt criminal business models. NHS trusts, councils, and educational institutions are all covered by the restriction. Security Minister Dan Jarvis called ransomware a national threat to public safety and trust. The policy aims to remove the financial incentive for attackers to target public services. Nearly 75% of public feedback supported the ban in government consultation rounds. Ransomware actors often operate from sanctioned territories like Russia, complicating payments. Making such payments may breach global sanctions and funding crime inadvertently. Private firms may still pay, but must notify the government in advance. The ban also encourages long-term resilience and investment in proactive defense. Organizations must now treat ransomware like a disaster recovery scenario. VCISO.au recommendation. VCISO.au urges public bodies to adopt immutable backups, implement ransomware simulation drills, and ensure cyber insurance covers incident recovery without reliance on ransom payments. Ransomware exposure list. Last 24 hours United States. iBuyPower, Dell Technologies, DTX Studio, CSS, Hitachi T&D Solutions, Protech Medical, Ryzen Law Group, Daniels Law Group, LLC, Chain Store Guide, Scaffold Solutions Inc., Heartline OK, National Boat Owners Association, Bronzecraft United Kingdom, Optima Canada, ASI Group Limited Germany, Neues Leben Thailand, Crucell, Adiantes, Luxembourg, Eurofins Scientific Columbia, Subscorp SAS. Final note from VCISO.au. Australia and New Zealand remain relatively untouched this week, but the global threat landscape continues to shift. Critical infrastructure, software supply chains, and endpoint security are under siege. Ensure your cybersecurity program is both proactive and verifiable. By Anil Yellamati.